The amount of resistance I have of doing tasks or even starting a new painting is ridiculous. Like, I've done hundreds of paintings already, and even now, like this weekend, I stare at a canvas and I have this resistance and I still don't know exactly what it is. It could be fear, and it probably is fear of either failing or not doing to the extent of what I want it to do, or even just that self-doubt of, am I worth having a solo exhibition now? I've only been doing this for 3 years. So it's trying to overcome that resistance, and taking the first step is the hardest step. But once you do, you're just like, I've just wasted all this time like dwelling on this, and all I had to do was just jump in.
Welcome back. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for rescheduling.
There was the funny thing is there was so much irony in the conversation that we had that no one's ever gonna see now. One of the things that we were talking about was embracing mistakes and embracing adversity and all those things about
all the failures,
just failures
yep.
and then how to overcome it. And then 20 minutes in, the recording stopped, and I didn't realize that until an hour or so after talking. So then it was just like, all right, decompress, and what are the things that you can learn from this? The way to resolve it was actually like the simplest solution, which should have just been implemented from the start.
Shit happens, man. I make rookie mistakes all the time. And it's like, I've been doing this for how long and I still keep making these simple mistakes. Shit just happens.
It happens. And it's going to continue to happen. I've got to, even as I'm doing this, is making sure that everything's working, because now I'm just getting
now you're paranoid as.
Now I'm just paranoid about it. But no, it's just part of that process, and that was something that I've been sitting on and really trying to appreciate, is not really focusing on the result, that every episode is going to bring its own qualities about it. There's nothing that's necessarily like engineered or manufactured about it. The conversation we get is a conversation we get, and it's more about just being in it as well, and just having that conversation. That is the reward of it. So awesome that we get to do it again.
I love that perspective as well, because you're being more present in the moment. It's not like you've got a card with you asking a bunch of questions to these people. Like, I'm sure you've got some ideas in your head of how you want to run it, but like being very present in that moment is way more beautiful. And then you're also trusting your own instincts of how to let it roll.
I wasn't sure how to operate in this space. Like, there are certain things that I want to kind of get out of it, but then at the same time, I thought that the people that I'm speaking to will have things that they just want to offer, not necessarily having it rehearsed, but it'll just come through in the conversation. Anyway, so I kind of just leave it at that. Like when you're speaking with anyone, you already kind of have a bit of an understanding of just their vibe and what it is that they're bringing, and what it is that they're giving out anyway, right? So you can just speak about that and learn from that. And that's going to take me back to how I connected with you. I saw your post that you put up about your exhibition, and I didn't know anything about your work until I saw that post. And you touched on how your work is inspired by the challenges that you had over COVID, and how you want to then just spread a lot of awareness and just open up conversations about mindfulness practices and how that's connected to your work, and how you can share that with other people. And it was inspiring. It was awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. It's funny. I never thought my art or my MO for my art would go down the mental health awareness aspect. It kind of just, I felt into it, and it felt comfortable, and it felt right. And it was just a really beautiful healing concept for myself. And then other people connected to it as well. We all have our own struggles and our own shit to deal with. But the fact that people looking at my art and then realizing, oh, there's a hidden meaning behind it as well. Oh, you're actually writing words, you're writing affirmations. It's not just like something that looks cool. It was really interesting. It kind of fell into a random aspect, and I just went with it, and now I love it. Now I don't want my art to ever not be mental health, because it's I'm putting my full soul into it and I'm learning a lot about myself every single piece I do. And then it's just like a beautiful end result. And yeah.
So the whole process, it changes and evolves, because one thing that I've been really trying to think about, and when you touched on being present in the moment, is that being present here now and what you're bringing into, let's say, this conversation, or in your instance of doing your work, is this whole accumulation of all the different experiences that have come before that. So the work that you were doing when it started off in COVID was prompted or inspired by some of the shit you're going through, right? So like the challenges and the hard times. But now that you've overcome that, the work has the same aesthetic, but there's a different essence, because now you're bringing something else to it.
Well, yeah, yes and no. Yes, I'm bringing a different essence to it because I've overcome certain adversities, but I'm still growing. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck is going on in my head all the time. I'm still trying to face my own demons. Every day is a new challenge. Something arises, or it's like I've got to relearn a lesson again. So it's like these paintings, yes, they've got that feel of having to. Not even the feel. It's because I'm constantly training that muscle of learning something new in my head. I'm now even trying to delve into more of where else can I learn, or what else can I grow, or what else do I need to be aware of. So it's same, but still evolving in a different way.
Yeah, it's just an expression of where you are at that.
Yeah, literally.
That exact moment.
Literally, every painting I do is where I am in that moment of life. Like even prepping for this exhibition, I've already got an idea of how to tell a story, but the quotes that I'm using or the affirmations I'm using, I'm kind of, yes, I've got a list of affirmations in my phone that I want to use and what will kind of work within the story, but it's still very much be present, what do I need right now? And then I kind of figure out, well, how will that tune into the gallery at the same point? It's weird. But at the same time, how do I tell a story with just affirmations? That's the interesting part. Yeah,
so that's like taking them on the journey that you've gone through?
Yeah. So the exhibition, it's a very vague story of the story of me overcoming depression, but it's also going to be within the paintings, the affirmations and the tools I've used in those moments. So it's still a work in progress at the moment, but most of the story is is going to be told within these posters that I'm going to put for each stage. So there's 5 stages, and it's like, this is a stage where you start when you're like super, super depressed and you're feeling shit about yourself, and then here are some tools to help you get through that first little step. And it moves on to the next stage. It's like, okay, now you're feeling that little bit better. Here are some tools and what to focus on for this next step. So it's quite vague, and I'm not a psychologist, so I tell people to take my advice with a grain of salt, but it's kind of also my own story and how I get through shit.
I find personally for me that affirmations, when you're in a positive frame of mind, they make sense.
Yeah.
They sound totally cliche, but you can connect it with where you're at the moment. And when I was not in the right frame of mind, they almost seemed like bullshit.
Oh, absolute bullshit. Yeah, 100%. And when you don't want to get out of bed, everything around you is out to get you in your head, and everything's bullshit. So what I'm trying to do is find a way that if someone is in that moment and they look at that painting, that they can be like, oh, okay, that's real, that's logical, that makes sense. So it's like I want to focus some of the artworks on the 3 main factors that get you out of a depressive hole. So it's the relationship with your physical body, the relationship with your mental, so yourself, and the relationship with other people. If you can focus on those 3 little things, it can be as simple as calling your mum, or simple as brushing your teeth, or doing some meditation, or just getting out of bed. The smallest step possible in those 3 factors, and if you keep training that muscle on a daily basis, you will finally get out of that hole. It's just being patient.
It just becomes part of you.
Yeah.
Being able to recognize the things that you need to do, and like you said, start small.
Yeah.
Get those little wins. You underestimate how effective a little win can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're so low, and you feel there's everything. It feels tight,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you just want to get completely out of it. But then it's hard to think that all you got to do is just this little bit, because you don't want to just improve a little bit. You want this gone.
You want it
entirely.
gone. Well, when you're in that state as well, you're kind of thinking, what's the point? What's the point of doing this little bit? What's the point of continuing on? What's the point of anything right now? So it is a really, really hard struggle, and it takes a long time and a lot of work, but just doing the smallest thing or celebrating the smallest win, like brushing your teeth, or like I said last week, where you're that depressed, doing one thing like spending your day on the floor out of bed, as long as you're not spending that one day in bed, and being proud of yourself that you stuck to what you said.
Yeah, I was speaking with Nathan Nankervis just the other day, and I was telling him about these little wins, right? So the example I used was, if I'm there with a bag of chips, and I said that, all right, this is my last handful. It could be anything, yeah? It could be, like you're saying, just get up and brush your teeth. When you tell yourself this is your last handful, and it ends up being your last handful, then there's a very low-level sense of trust being built between you and yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It's very easy for us just to bullshit ourselves, and we can get away with it because we're the only ones accountable for it. And once you start telling yourself these little lies, and then you're letting yourself off with these little lies, then the trust that you have in the faith that you have in yourself to be able to overcome things just becomes further and further apart. You have to trust. You have to build trust there.
Yeah.
So building that trust is just doing the things that you say that you're going to do.
Yeah.
And just going through with it. And then you can start building that relationship with yourself. And then once you know you can do the little things, it becomes habitual. And as you were saying, that it's about flexing that muscle.
Literally, just build that muscle.
And then it just becomes part of you.
Yeah.
You are someone that executes what it is that you're going to say. You've set an agenda, however big, however small. If it's a big thing, then you break it down to small steps.
Yeah.
And then you just execute those small steps. And then you build that trust. And then that's, in the simplest way, how you can get out.
Yeah. It takes time when you're super depressed and things aren't working the way in your head. It's a lot of patience and a lot of time. And a lot of the time you are questioning yourself, like, why am I doing this? I don't believe in myself, rah, rah, rah. But again, like we're saying, it's if you're just doing that one little thing each day and reminding yourself that you are worth it, even if you don't believe it fully, if you're telling yourself out loud and even lying to yourself that I am worth it or I am beautiful, if you say that 100 times and you do it for about a week, every single day for a week, you end up starting to believe it.
Yeah.
Like, you're faking it till you make it, and it ends up becoming that character, and you're changing your mindset. You're changing your subconscious without even realizing.
Yeah, both ways.
Yeah.
You can tell yourself you're ugly, and you keep
100%.
repeating that to yourself.
100% goes both ways.
And then it just comes out. You just carry yourself that way.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the times it's just a matter of having confidence in yourself.
Confidence is practice. I live by that. You don't just wake up one day and have all the confidence in the world. You can fake that you've got the confidence, but again, you're practicing that. That's all that is.
Yeah, and it really is not so much. Fake confidence then it's just delusional. I mean,
we all need to be a little bit delusional at times.
That's true. That's kind of true. If we're aiming to be something that we're not, we have to, I guess, walk in those steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And feel it out, and then we have to be that person before we're there, I guess. So there is an element of delusion in that.
100%. Oh, I used to hate being delusional. I used to be like, try to be as humble and as real as you possibly can. But these days I'm like, nah, I'm going to embrace the delusionalness, and I'm going to manifest this shit. Even if it's not true right now, there is some part of me that believes I can get there. But to get there, I've got to believe that I'm already there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to be delusional.
Be delusional.
Yeah.
Be delusional. That is one of the things about creativity and being a creative is that you got to do something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. So in order for you to do something that doesn't exist, you have to firstly believe that it's doable, and then you have to manifest it. You have to be it.
Yeah.
And then whatever the result may be, if it works, it doesn't work, then you can put that, feather in your cap and then evolve from that. But no, you're right. You have to be delusional. So you have to be confidently delusional.
Confidently delusional. Or, just have some aspect that you'll get it done. You have no idea how it's going to get done, but you'll get it done.
So with your work now, what are you drawing from?
In terms of the affirmations or the layouts or both?
Yeah. In that, with the underlying essence behind your work, what is it in your life that you're pulling from to put back out into your work?
Honestly, it comes down to me trying to heal my younger self every time. Every affirmation that comes through, it's something that I've either read in a book, heard on a podcast, a friend has said to me, saw in a movie. Every time something that I find that hits me as a quote, I write it down on my phone instantly. Even if I'm driving, I'll do a quick voice note. It's like that. I need to use that somehow. I've got a long list on my phone of all these quotes and affirmations. And a lot of the time I don't even use half of them, or some of them don't make sense because I need to have them in context of where they came from. But it's just pulling those quotes and affirmations out that has related to me. And then during the moment when I am painting a piece, I'm looking through the quotes on my phones, and there'll always be one that sticks out. I'll be like, fuck, that's what I'm going through. That's what I've got to touch on. That's what I've got to reflect on. So I'm going to use that. So they're not always, quotes aren't always the things that I have come up with and I am bullshitting myself. It's something that I've been inspired by and something that relates to whatever I'm going through at the moment.
And then the art is just secondary to that. Like the art is just, you're already sitting on that and working through that. And then you're like, oh, you know what? There could be something out of this.
Yeah. So when it comes to like layout and colours and how I want the piece to end up looking like, that comes from inspiration from other artists. So I see someone like yourself doing this beautiful background and I'm like, oh, this is incredible. I can see myself using these colours and doing a layout of the calligraphy like flowing through. I always treat my layout as how would a little person jump through it and kind of create a little maze. It's like me trying to have fun through a painting and go on this little journey in terms of layout. Yeah,
so it's also like now that you're in a position where, you don't feel as though that you're at the mercy of the depressive state, you have the choice to then bring in whatever stimulus it is that you want, when, as opposed to feeling like that you're at the mercy of everything, that you're in this position now where like, okay, you know what, I'm in more control of everything going on. I get to choose what it is that I want to bring into my life. And then what I bring into my life is going to help manifest what it is that I'm going to be putting out.
Yeah. Yes and no. I don't have control of everything in my life. I'm not perfect.
Oh, we're just reactive to it.
Yeah. But no, I'm now at a stage where I can, I've seen how far I've come and how much I can use my own struggles as inspiration to hopefully inspire others.
With the workshops that you do, is that the underlying theme behind it as well? Is that something that the people that are coming in and doing the paintings with you, are they doing it as a form of therapy, or is it something that they're just doing for a bit of fun?
Well, that's up to them entirely. I run my classes so it's more of a casual aspect and you're just learning a skill and you're doing something new and you're having something fun. But I am the type of person to always tune into anyone that is having a hard time or is kind of doubting themselves. It's funny, I've had so many classes and I have seen people, because a lot of the time these students have never painted before in their life and they're doing something fun. It's like, cool, this is something really new. I'm coming to join this. But then you see their face halfway through and they're questioning their life and their existence and they're like, fuck, what am I doing? So I always tend to break down the challenges in my classes, and I keep reminding people, it's like, guys, you've never painted before. It's just paint. Let go. Just fucking let go and have some fun. Even if you think this is wrong or you can't do that letter or you're struggling, fucking who cares? The whole idea of this process is that you're just putting things on canvas and you're enjoying yourself, and by the end of it, it ends up looking fucking sick no matter what. It's like I make everyone do this one style that most calligraphy artists do around the world, because it's quite simple, but it also is so effective and so bold. So no matter what you do at the end of it, you're just like, no shit, I did that. That's cool. This actually looks really good.
Yeah, and is it, you're talking about that circular shape?
Yeah. So it's just, I just do a quick circle, and then it's layer and layer and layer and a little bit of spray paint in between. You can never read what you're doing. That's the beauty of the spray paint, but it looks, because it's interdimensional, it just looks awesome.
It's one of those ones that like you don't really fully appreciate it until you get to the end of it as well, and like, oh wow, okay, that's what it's meant to do.
Yeah. You really have to trust the process. A lot of people that come to this class struggle because they're just looking at it and they're just like, it just looks weird. I'm like, just wait until it's at the end, until it's done, and then we get to the end and everyone's doing a walk around the class and they're like, oh no shit, this is cool as.
Hey, that last piece that you did, the one where it was, you had that rainbow gradient, how did you do that? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm still workshopping how to do that style so it's like precise. I've only done this style about 3 or 4 times now, and that piece you're talking about took me 3 goes to do it, because it can just like instantly stuff up. So what I do is I have a blank canvas. I use a gravity-fed airspray gun. I then create the gradient in the colours. And then at the moment, I'm taping it all up in masking tape once it's dry, painting my calligraphy on top of the masking tape, and then hand carving out and using it as a stencil.
Right.
Which is time consuming and can very easily create a hole in the canvas very quickly. So the last one took me 3 goes because I tried new techniques that I've never done before, and it just ended up not working. I've tried to get vinyl stencils and do a whole bunch of different materials, or paint on vinyl banners instead of canvas itself. And yeah, it's a tricky one.
So once you nail it, it will just be a new evolution in how you do things.
Once I nail it, it's just going to be so good.
Like with these ones here, I had it in my head that it was just going to be easy. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought. Especially considering that I hadn't painted in almost 20 years.
Is it because it has such a minimalistic feel to it?
I figured that gradients will just be being able to layer and layer and layer and layer and peel it back and layer and just add. You can manipulate it. I thought it'd be easier to manage. It wasn't as forgiving as I thought, and I thought, okay, it's going to require this number of cans per canvas. Ended up having to just keep on going, doing trips here and there, picking up this colour, that colour, that colour. And it was just more like, it was a lot more painstaking and a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be. The expense was because I didn't really know what it is that I was doing. So why I thought it was going to be easy when I didn't know, it doesn't make much sense. But
hey, you're delusional and...
Exactly, delusional confidence. But a lot of lessons along the way. So as I was doing it, I'm thinking, all right, these are, bank these. But then I was like, you've learnt so much from doing this. You may as well just do more now. I may as well do something with it. So maybe I like them. I like how they turned out, and
I love them.
Thank you. It's not exactly as I thought in my head, but I don't know whether or not it's possible to get it exactly how I thought in my head with spray paint cans.
I don't think anything with when you're hand doing something, nothing is ever going to turn out exactly in your head unless you've got like 30 years experience of doing that one style constantly. But I get, as a graphic designer, you know how the final product's going to look, because you can be intricate and detail and chop and change things all the time. But when you're doing things by hand and painting, it never ever turns out the way you think.
And that's something that not only should I accept, but like embrace that. It's like, it is just
100%.
what it is. Like, don't even think too hard with what you want it to look like in the end. Maybe have a bit of an idea, but resign to the process dictating what the outcome is going to be as well.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm not disappointed with them. They are doing what they need to do, just hanging up on the walls here. But yeah, no, I thought that, you know, now that I have banked that experience, don't let it go to waste. Put it towards something.
You've learnt something and you know how to do this style if you want to do it again in a different way, and probably a little bit more cost effective next time as well.
Yeah, exactly. Cost effective would just be more that. Yeah, I think that there was a lot of wastage because there was a lot of errors and a lot of learning. But
well, I wouldn't call it errors. It's just testing. Like,
I suppose.
Yeah, you
there
test.
You go.
Yeah,
how you frame it.
Yeah, when you're testing out ideas, yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money, but that's the idea. You're never going to get anything perfectly right the first time. You have to, again, like I said, unless you've been doing this for 30 years in that style, it's not going to be perfect. Do you know Chuck Mayfield or Brian Itch?
No.
So they're incredible spray artists from Melbourne.
Cool.
And the work they produce is just unreal. I was doing a mural at Esoteric a couple of years ago, and it was a collaboration with Ash Dark. And Chuck Mayfield was doing a massive mural right beside us. And he kept coming over and like giving us tips and tricks with spray cans because Ash was good friends with him. And just like the instant control of doing like this little thing, I was like, damn, that's insane. And I sat down and spoke with him. And he's like, it's taken me 20 years to get that control in that one aspect. He's like, I'm still learning every day on new ideas and new techniques because something new is coming out all the time.
Yeah, and that's how you just make it look easy, right? Like it's the 20 years of experience to eventually make it look easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's the dedication that people will have to their craft and to their art. For me, that was one of the reasons why I stopped, was not having patience.
Yep, yeah. I feel ya. Mm-hmm. There was no recognition no appreciation for hard things. Yeah.
It was a matter of, and again, going back to like, it's easy. It's because the people that I'm looking at, right, the people that I'm taking inspiration from make it look easy because they've been doing it for 20 years. So that was something that I had to learn, was appreciating the benefit of doing hard things over a long period of time, so it eventually is not a hard thing.
Yeah.
So it was a bit off-putting for me.
100% it's off-putting. When you're doing something and you're shit at it, you're just like, I don't want to ever do this again. The amount of things I have started and quit is ridiculous. So before I was doing calligraphy, I was doing sign writing. And I was doing sign writing for hospitality venues around Melbourne, and I was shit at it. And I've quit from that since then. But I was horrible. I was comparing myself to people that have been doing this for years. Sign writing is something that takes time and practice. And the other thing is I was beating myself up so much because, one, it was in a venue, people were seeing it, and I was getting paid to do this. And two, I wasn't going home and practicing either. I was trying to just like, yeah, I can do this straight up. It's fine. It wasn't. It takes time and it's hard. But again, I gave up on that because it wasn't. I had this entitled mindset of I need to get paid for this, and the only way I'll learn is by doing it and getting paid. I wasn't appreciating the fact that I was a beginner and I just needed to put the grunt work in and do things for free. So I had a very entitled mindset back then.
Yeah, we all kind of do when we're young. Like when you're a kid, and I'm guilty of this as well with my boys, that you praise them for being skilled in a particular way. Like Lennox is capable of, like, he's really creative and he can draw really well. And I'll praise him for that, but it's not necessarily something that he's worked on, right? It's around him, so he just has this appreciation to create. But it's not just about having natural abilities.
Yeah.
That if you want something, that you have to work at it, right? Because sure, you're good at this level now, but then what happens when someone else is better than you? What are you going to do there? Is that going to be discouraging, or is that going to be encouraging you to work harder at it? So it's that we're just sort of built to appreciate praise of talent, and not enough consideration or not enough recognition goes to hard work.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time as well, we look at any type of artist or athlete and we're praising them from where they are now, but none of us look at about the work that they've done to get there.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast with Jimmy Carr and Stephen Barrett, the Diary of the CEO, and they were tapping on this as well. It was like everyone is proud of like Jimmy Carr's new comedy show, but they don't ever look at the amount of work that goes into it. This guy creates one-liners for 2-hour sets straight up and travels 300 days of the year. No one ever looks into the nitty-gritty detail of how much work would go into trying to create that show itself.
Yeah, that's the craft there. And again, it's how much work and how much pain and suffering went into finally being able to do something easy.
Supposedly.
So yeah, that back to to the point of the recognition of hard work is that we're from a early age, we praise kids for being skilled and talented. So there's that connection that we have with the positive conditioning to that, and when we realize that it's not enough, it's hard for us to then, definitely for me, to then think, how do I build from this? Because now it's just about grind. It's about using that as the foundation and then adding building blocks to that and to improve and to constantly improving. Because when something was easy for you to begin with, you're still not at this level yet.
No,
you're still here. But to get here, it's no longer about the skill. It's about the mindset and the work. But then where do you find that from if you've never been told to do it?
That's a good point.
And I think that, with like a lot of people that are in a depressive state, it's coming from not having the belief in them that they are capable of getting out of that. Like, shit sucks.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard no matter what. Like, life is just going to be coming at you. But if you don't have that trust in yourself to just grind things out, then it's hard to move out of that state. It's hard to develop your skills. It's hard to create and to evolve as a creative.
100%. But I feel like you need to go through those hard moments of that development to get anywhere. You need to learn and appreciate the journey. Appreciating the journey is hard when you are depressed and in that state of mind. But it's when you finally come out of that hole and you look back on it, you're like, oh, everything that I've learned and everything I've grown from has just made me such a better person, or I've developed so much more in my art because I pushed myself through that. It's not easy, but it's the hard work and pushing yourself through that you don't want to do. It's doing the things you don't want to do that will actually get you somewhere.
Yeah. And if you're ever back in a similar position to that, you have what it takes, and you already know that you have what it takes to come out of that and even better for it.
Yeah. When you've accomplished something, it boosts your ego, it boosts your self-belief, and it boosts your self-confidence. It's like, I did that. Holy shit.
Yeah, there's the appreciation of the journey. It's something that, even like what I was just reading, the Rick Rubin book on the way here, where he was speaking about creativity is just the way of being. And it's about trying to find inspirations everywhere, like to not be so narrow focused, open up your vision, not just the way you're seeing things, but just the way you're perceiving the world, taking as much information as you can, because like subconsciously you'll be compartmentalizing all of it. And you'll be recognizing what is going to be good and then bringing it all together to where you are right now. So it's a matter of then just being in that state as constantly as you can, of just absorbing and to almost subconsciously be seeking change.
Well, we're going back to what we started with. It's being present. It's being aware and being present of what's around you. And again, it'll pop up randomly. You'll think of something, be like, oh, cool, that's right. Because I was present in that moment and I wasn't getting myself stressed out and I was breathing, that has now come back to life in a different aspect, and I can take that either for inspiration or learn from that.
And with your students as well, there's that reluctance to even try because there's that fear. But it's all about just like fucking just jump in. That's the point.
Oh my God.
That's the point.
I still struggle with that on a daily basis. The amount of resistance I have of doing tasks or even starting a new painting is ridiculous. Like, I've done hundreds of paintings already, and even now, like this weekend, I stare at a canvas and I have this resistance and I still don't know exactly what it is. It could be fear. And it probably is fear of either fucking up or failing or not doing to the extent of what I want it to do, or even just that self-doubt of, fuck, am I worth having a solo exhibition now? I've only been doing this for 3 years. So it's trying to overcome that resistance, and taking the first step is the hardest step. But once you do, you're just like, fuck, I've just wasted all this time dwelling on this, and all I had to do was just jump in. Fuck.
Isn't that wild? Like, how much energy you get expanded into not doing the thing.
Oh, how much time do we waste not doing the thing when we should have just do the thing?
If you just have just done the thing, you would have saved. No, well, I mean, time definitely, but the mental bandwidth as well. Like, what happened to that? Like, you were just it's just gone now.
Yeah.
That energy.
One thing I have done that's a tool that has definitely put that resistance level down more and more each time are ice baths.
Shit.
Because no one wants to do an ice bath. No one wants to be nice and warm, especially in the middle of winter in Melbourne. No one wants to be nice and rugged up and jump in 2-degree water, ever. You never want to do that, no matter how many times you do it. But once you do it, you have trained that muscle, and fuck, do you feel good after it.
It's intense. I really do not like them. I really don't like them. It was when I was doing marathon training. It was something that I did a few times a week, and it was you can't even think about it.
No,
you can't think about it. It's like it's happening, and that's it. That's all you can do. It's like it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Right? Like, don't question it. Don't even put your mind in it. Right? Until it's happening, you step in, and then all you can do is just think about it. You are so present.
You're kind of too present because you're just focusing on how much this hurts and how much you want to get out.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Everyone goes through it differently with ice baths, and I've just got to keep telling myself in the moment when I'm in an ice bath, it's like I have just got to let go, and that change of mindset and creating that habit and training that muscle has helped so much throughout different aspects of my life. It's ridiculous.
Are you doing it for that aspect, or is it also just for the physical benefits?
I'm doing it for the physical benefits mostly. Ice baths just kind of help re-regulate your nervous system, and it's also it's that little win again. It's like, yeah, I did that. I jumped in an ice bath. That sucked, and I did it. Yeah,
and that really plays into something that you brought up right at the start about the connection between the mind and the body. You know, that they are so deeply connected that you can't even separate the two. And an ice bath is a really great example of how those things work together. Like, that mental hurdle to get in. I remember the first time I did it, and then from after that, the second time I was like, you can't even think about it, because as soon as you think about it, there'll be that little thing going in your brain. It's like, oh, dude, do you really want to do this? Like, I can't. You got to switch that off entirely.
And when you're in it, you can't think about it either, because it just hurts. Because then you're just focusing on the pain and how much, like, your body's just stiffening up. Like, it it's so painful for me. Not as in like a pain that I can't tolerate, but it's just painful because everything is numb and I can feel it stinging and I can feel it progressing more and more the longer I'm in it. So you literally have to let go and not think.
Yeah, and just trust that you're okay.
I mean, it's not going to kill you. It's ice bath. You're jumping into an uncomfortability. You just got to get through it.
Yeah, and that is something that you can transfer across to other areas, and that's something that I touched on with Nathan about as well, when that bag of chips example, like having that discipline. And then once you have that, if you start your day off with an ice bath, the rest of your day's easy.
Oh, it's ridiculous how much I need to get back into it. Starting your day with an ice bath will change everything, or jumping into the ocean or doing whatever. Starting your day with some sort of uncomfortability, but also regulating your nervous system changes everything. It's ridiculous. Even something as small as sitting down and doing a 5-minute meditation, because you don't want to do it. When you first wake up, you don't want to do it. You don't want to go and do this meditation, or you're running late or something's happening. If you're doing something you don't want to do, it just, everything else throughout the day is so much more achievable.
Yeah. I'm going to be starting my marathon training in about 4 weeks, and I've already told myself that I'm not doing ice baths. But
Fair.
But
to do it.
But like, if I'm being honest about it, is because I'm chicken shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Resistance.
Okay. No. I'll. They've got to come back.
I recommend them 100%. I need to do it as well. I've got an inflatable one that's sitting in my backyard, and my partner and I are like, during winter, we are so doing this. Have we used it once in winter? No. So it's something I need to do as well.
What else do you do to help balance out that mind and body connection?
Meditation every morning has changed my life. It's guided meditation. It's funny, I've listened to the same meditation for the past 2 to 3 years. It is monotonous.
Monotonous.
That's the word. It is painstaking a lot of the time, but I notice the difference when I don't do it. And that's what does my head in the most. Because if I'm running late or I've slept in, or for some reason I just didn't feel like doing it, and then by the end of the day, something has frustrated me throughout the day because I'm a creative and things go wrong, I react differently. And I notice when I get home, I'm like, shit, I didn't do that. And I can tell the difference on the days I did. As well as journaling. I can't stress enough the power of writing something down. It doesn't have to be dear diary, blah, 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 blah. I dot point everything. I literally write my intention, what I'm grateful for, or three things I'm grateful for, something I want to let go of, and then something I'm proud of myself, and something I want to manifest. So it's like, if I do that daily practice every single day, not only do those manifestations come true, but my whole mindset just changes.
There is something powerful in taking something out of your brain and giving it some sort of tangibility in a physical form.
So much power. Because when you write it down as well, thankfully I have paintings where I can write down my thoughts and things that are going on in my head. But once you start putting thoughts to paper, you're eliminating the bullshit and actually working through the problem in your head. Because once you start writing it down and you see it, you're like, oh, is this me self-doubting myself? Is this me like hating what's going on, or is it actually something that I have misinformation about? So it's incredible. I recommend it to everyone, and it's been the most life-changing thing that I've done and other people have done around me.
Yeah, I've admittedly have stopped doing it. No good reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a similar context, I wrote what things that I'm grateful for. Gratitude it's an important one. I think that's trying to keep that as a permanent way of being.
Yeah.
That's integral. And some wins, noting down wins.
Love that.
That's something that you've also got to give yourself a pat on the back, right? Because like, you've gone through a day where it was effortful. You had to overcome certain things. But then also on top of that, I wanted to make note of areas where I could improve. You know, there'll be something as simple as like, there was this situation and I didn't react as well as I should have. Right? Just note that down, and just to hold yourself accountable for it as well. And it's just these practices that where you're not letting yourself get away. Well, firstly, you're giving yourself the credit where it's due.
Yep, you're reflecting, which we forget to do a lot of the time.
Yeah, yeah, and you got to appreciate what you've just gone through. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I didn't let myself get away with the bullshit as well.
Nice.
So again, I think that's something that I really need to get back.
One thing, so I have a life coach, and a trick that my life coach taught me, I'm still yet to use this to its full extent. And it's a bit cheesy, but it's called a win jar. So every day you write down on a small piece of paper your win and you chuck it in the jar. And on a day where you feel absolutely defeated, you go to the jar, you pick it out and you're like, no fucking shit. I did that. And on the back of it, you can write how it made you feel as well. So it's a little reminder. It's quite cheesy, but it's very effective. There are days where I will look back through my journal because I've written down some wins and I've used it in that aspect. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not actually a piece of shit.
No, it is important. I think that to your point, it's really just to help you better understand what is going on in here. There's just so much going on at a million miles an hour. Sometimes you just need a moment just to put it down, and it will give you an opportunity to reflect, but also to dissect it and for you to work through it without everything else scrambling the signal.
Yeah, we forget so much because there's so much going on in everyone's lives at all times. And there's so much chaos happening. We always forget to take that moment to sit down, one, reflect, and two, appreciate and be grateful for what we do have. And having that moment and putting that into a daily practice is just so powerful.
Less of a daily practice, but with every episode that I do, I take a journal of that.
Yes, yeah, that's awesome.
I've just found that there's been a huge amount of growth since I've started this. Learning from the people that I speak with, there's always nuggets of wisdom dropped in there. And when I'm in a conversation, sometimes it might not resonate with me fully until I edit, and then I'm spicing up all the little clips and the reels and shit to promote it. And then I kind of like meditate on that and just let it just work through. And it's like, fuck, this is really, really important. I wish I had pressed on that a little bit more. But with that being said, I will keep a journal as I'm editing and just write down why that's important and then connect it back to something that I learnt previously. And it all kind of just comes together. So that's been pretty helpful for me.
That's incredible. And you're not only appreciating what you do, but you're being proud of yourself with what you're doing, and it pushes you and inspires you to do more in your creative field. Yeah,
no, it absolutely does. It really just like it feels like that I just want to do more of these, and it's more than anything, it's humbling, right? Like just admitting to myself that I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
That I'm speaking with people that they don't even have the answers. We're just asking the right questions. I think that's what it is.
Everyone's kind of just making it up as we go.
Yeah.
But we're all learning from each other, and everyone has a new perspective on why they do things or how they do things, and learning from every different perspective you possibly can. And luckily you've got that stage to learn that perspective from everybody. It's
just creating that stage, that platform,
yeah.
and then, having a reason to do it as well. It's just taken a bit of time to, firstly, like in my profession as a designer and as a brand designer and a brand strategist, was that you come in as an expert. You're coming in and people are asking you the questions. And some of the times you just got to like make it up as you go. And and then it almost strokes your ego in the wrong way as well, because like you're just making it up, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily even just make sense.
But are you making it up because you know you will figure it out?
That's part of it.
There you go.
That's part of it. And sometimes you think you just know when you don't. So it is that delusional confidence, but playing on the other end of it. But then doing this was like, I want to just really humble myself and bring it back down to zero. Start a podcast with really like no understanding of how to do it, connecting with my immediate friends who are in the creative field, and then from there branching out and just having this network grow and grow and grow, like how I've connected with you. And just thinking, there's just so much to learn from. It's kind of infinite how much there is. And, like, it's not that I know anything. It's that the wisdom that I'm collecting is from other people, and I'm just passing it back on. Like, it's not mine.
Yeah.
I've just found it.
Exactly. That's all my quotes and things in my paintings are. It sometimes is shit that I say to myself, but I haven't come up with it. It's not original. I'm learning and being inspired by everybody else around me. Someone has said something and I've been like, oh, God, that's good. That ticks that string in my heart. I love that. And I'm going to put that in a painting. And then someone else has viewed that painting, read that quote and been like, fuck, that is what I needed to hear today. That works. So yeah, it's creating inspiration from everybody else's wisdom as well.
And we just share it and we put it back out there, and then take it if you want it, or just leave it.
Yeah, take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So this exhibition of yours, you haven't started.
I have started. I have started. It's been in the works for the past 2 years. So 2 years ago, I came up with the idea of doing an exhibition around getting yourself out of depressive state, because in that moment of time, I was super depressed. And I was like, how do I get out of this? How do I put this into my art? And then the delusion of me was like, let's do an exhibition about this. Never done an exhibition of this scale in my life. And I've only been painting calligraphy for like 3-ish years. And most people don't do a solo exhibition until they've been doing this for like a very long time. So I'm just like balls deep, all in, let's go. But 2 years ago, I started planning for it, came up with the storyline, came up with the stages as well. I've got the book. I spent one night in my studio and I wrote down all the stages I want to focus on, what are the quotes I can use, what are the artworks that will relate to those quotes, and like the colours I can use in them. Like, I went in deep into planning it. And then I started looking for venues. But looking for venues in our economic state, and also trying to find something of the size and in my budget was very hard. It was very deterring. I think I saw about 20, 25 venues, and not one of them was capable of what I needed to do or what I wanted to show. And I stopped planning it. I couldn't find a venue. I couldn't raise the money. I was so deterred. And for 6 months, I just stopped. And I didn't do a thing. And then at the end of last year, I picked it back up again, found a venue I liked, found a grant to apply for, which took me several goes to get, and then was just like, nah, I'm all in. This needs to happen. I can't get this idea of doing this exhibition off my mind. I need to do it.
I feel as though that if something like that is going to happen, if it's supposed to happen, it'll find a way. A lot of it has to do with you having the persistence and the determination, but that persistence and determination have to come from somewhere as well, right? So if it is to be done, then it will be done.
Yeah. Like,
none of the things that came into play to make it happen, it's not a coincidence. Like the grant, it probably had to take you... Well, it definitely had to take you a bunch of times to apply.
100%. And also, a lot of things at work had to happen for me to learn to do this as well. Like, I was super depressed when I first started planning this exhibition because my whole life just completely changed in the best ways possible. But it was a lot of change, and I wasn't recognizing that, and I wasn't reflecting on it, and I was letting it get to me. And it kind of went down the wrong way, which sometimes it does. I got out of it eventually. But the beauty of that depression, I kind of focused that on putting on that show. But then obviously the show wasn't happening and I got depressed again. But the reason why I got this grant this time round was because I learnt so much at work about writing grants and how to apply for and what to do. And then the first grant I applied for was like a 60-page document that I made up, and it was me bullshitting my way through, and of course it got denied. And when I got the feedback from the Yarra City Council, they were like, none of it made sense. It wasn't to the point. We don't even know who 180 Collective is. Because in the whole document, I said we. And I'm like, 180 Collective is a solo. And I applied for the wrong grant to begin with. So I needed to learn and I needed to fail to get to where I was. And it worked out in the end. I got the grant.
In hindsight, you look at it and you're like, the depression, albeit challenging and difficult, life-changing, was a necessary part in the growth. Mm-hmm. And all the steps along the way have come together to help you be who you are now.
Yeah, it always works out in the end, which is something really, really hard to remind yourself when you're in the thick of it, but it always works out in the end.
I'll need to tap your brain about grants as well, so we can have a chat about that.
Absolutely, happy to help.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity out there for creatives, and I think that's something that needs to be given a bit more attention to as well. That there's a support network, albeit not. It could be better, but it's not there. So I think that's something that can really help give prop people up a little bit more. I don't know how laborious that whole process is, but with a bit of persistence, I think that if you're legit about it, you can get the help.
If your heart's fully into a project and you know exactly what you want, you can get anything you want in life, not just the grant. It's like if you know you want it, you will get there.
And that's just you taking that particular lesson and then applying it.
Yes.
To that. Aubrey Marcus, he is an entrepreneur in the fitness and wellness space. Sold his business to like a Unilever, one of those companies, for squillions of dollars. And he spoke of his biggest regret was how much time and energy he spent worrying about not getting to where he is now. If he had to still do all those things, right? Like he had this particular goal and he broke it down and said that in order to achieve this goal, I need to have these milestones, break these milestones into steps, and then I can action those steps. I had to do all those things anyway. And by doing those things, I was eventually going to get to where I am now. Inevitably, the evidence is there. But what he regrets was how much energy he expended at every step worrying about whether or not he was going to get there. So I've kind of taken that approach and have no idea where this is going, for example, but I'm not worrying about where it'll eventually end up.
Good.
For me, it's just, okay, right now I'm sitting here having this conversation with you. This is where the attention is. And after this, then it'll be put onto editing. Then once it's edited, and then it's always just that next immediate step. And then wherever it ends up is where it was always going to be anyway. So I kind of feel as though that if a lot of times if we have a particular goal, the goal was only there to dangle the carrot in front of us to take us to where we otherwise are supposed to be going to.
Yeah.
As well. And that's just the benefit of hindsight, I suppose. When you finally get to where you're supposed to be, you're like, well, all those things needed to happen.
Absolutely. It's also letting go of control, which is something I need to work on. Letting go that you have control of where things will end up at what time. It's like you don't have control over that. Shit's going to happen. You got to focus on what you can control, which is doing the artwork or jumping in the ice bath or doing the small step to eventually get you to that bigger step.
But even in doing the artwork, you're also at the mercy of your tools. And then when using a brush, a lot of variables can happen in that time. And it's just the acceptance of this maybe not exactly how I wanted it to turn out, but that's how it is.
Nothing ever is. Nothing is ever exact. I kind of don't also... I'd go into paintings these days. I said this to my partner yesterday, actually. I don't want to have control over where my painting goes because I try to hold on. I'm a bit anal and OCD in my life. So I hold on to so much control about so many factors in my life that this is the one thing where I do want complete and utter freedom and not have like an end goal of where it wants to be. I just need to believe in myself that it will look sick in the end. And if it doesn't, it's just a painting. I can paint over it. I can redo it. Yes, it's frustrating right now because I don't necessarily have the time to do that, but it's also like lessons learned. So it creates more fun and it lets me enjoy the process more.
Yeah, just resigning to it.
Yeah. Just being reluctant to the control and letting go.
So what are you working on in the minute?
A multitude of things. Trying to put an event together is proving it's proven to be difficult, but it's also very exciting at the same time. I'm just trying to remind myself to enjoy the journey, because not only am I putting on an event, I'm putting on a gallery. I'm curating the gallery. I'm putting the artworks together. I'm doing the merch desk, and then love and behold, I'm putting on workshops at the same time. So I'm going big. So there's a lot in the works.
A lot going on. Where can people connect with you, find you on the socials?
Most people can find me on Instagram. I love Instagram. I'm heavily on that. So my name is 180 Collective, one word in letters. That'd be the best way to connect with me. And then through websites and other social platforms, definitely.
Cool. Kate, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing.